Hello everyone, and welcome to this latest recording adventure. This time I visited the Watercress Line in New Alresford. This heritage railway is a dream for steam and diesel enthusiasts, and I wanted to capture the atmosphere in as much detail as possible. For this recording session, I used a mixture of gear to capture a variety of train-based sounds. The Sony M10 and Olympus 11 helped me grab some great ambient textures, but for the best possible detail, I also brought along the Zoom F3, which I paired with Oaka instrument Verdi microphones. These are a pair of very powerful, small microphones that are fantastic for stereo recording and really bring out the depth of the soundscape that you're trying to capture. For more focused sounds, I also used the Sennheiser MKE 600 shotgun mic, which I plugged into the Zoom F3 to isolate specific details. I hope you enjoy this sound journey. If you like this kind of field recording content, let me know in the comments, and if you have any suggestions for future locations, I would love to hear them. With that said, sit back, put on a good pair of headphones, turn off stable volume on YouTube, and let's take a ride on the Watercress Line together. So the first train we encountered was the S15 506, which was a steam locomotive designed by William Adams. It was a part of class of 40 locomotives built between 1920 and 1923 for the London to Exeter and Plymouth route. This train and the S15 class was primarily used for heavy passenger and freight work. This particular train was a very reliable engine with good performance and efficiency, making it an essential part of the fleet during its service. So the first sound we got here was with the Sony M10, and I was getting the general station ambience, but also the kind of shoveling sound of them shoveling the coal for the engine. And here we go, we're about to set off, and there's something incredible about this sound, this chug, 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 and the metallic kind of ambience around these trains, and I just love it. So I used the Sony M10 again for this one, and let's just take a listen to this. And then came along this D3462, which is a diesel electric locomotive, and this was also pulling passenger carriages up and down the tracks all day. As it was coming back down the track, I decided to keep recording to get a closer sound of it passing. That was spectacular. Let's just go over here. We'll take the Sony M10 Sony with us, and I want to just get this rumble of the engine whirring away. Let's see what that sounds like. Absolutely beautiful. What an amazing sound. Anyway, we're getting on this train. For this part of the journey, I just put the Sony M10 on the table and allowed it to capture the ambience from inside the carriage. And unfortunately, some talking as well, but what can you do? Because the M10 has omnidirectional mics in, which pick up so much sound, I wondered what it'd sound like if we used the Olympus LS11, which have sort of more directional inbuilt mics. There's a lot less low end than there is on the Sony M10, but it did a better job of capturing sort of more of the ambience and less of the talking. And I couldn't resist. When we got off at the train station at Roppler, I just had to kind of scan. I wanted to get that rumble again, but also scan around with the M10 and see what different parts of the train sound like. And then the steam train arrived, which we are getting on, but I only had the Olympus LS11 in my hand at that particular moment, so I quickly snapped this. That was a nice sound, but I feel that would have been better if I just happened to have the Sony M10 in my hand. It would have picked up much more of that low end and that rumble, but it sounded pretty decent. We're going to go on the steam train in a second and I'll capture some ambiences and stuff from inside. But I was lucky enough to be able to go inside the interior of the driver's cabin with the Sony M10 and just get the different vibrational sounds, the rumbles, and there's so many textures and atmospheres just in that area. And here's what I got. Cheers. So we got that, and then we got the sound of it leaving. And with that, let's get on the steam train and get the Verdi mics out and the Zoom F3. With this setup, I really wanted to get the ambience from inside the train, just the general sounds, the rumbling, the creaking, the squeaking, the rattles, all that sort of stuff. So here's a few clips that I managed to get from different locations within the train carriages. I also put the microphones not out of the window but very close to the window, and thankfully I had the Bumblebee Wind Bubble Pros on them, which really helped because otherwise it would have been way too windy to be able to catch the sound of the world passing outside of the window. And just a collection of amazing ambiences, and I'm not going to interrupt these, just sit back and listen to them one after the other. also got some quick clips from a couple of locations within the train with the Sennheiser MKE 600, where I was trying to get very isolated, kind of track-related rhythmic sounds, and I'll just put those in here, because they turned out quite nice. So, yep, here she goes. She's leaving the station now with a little bit of a hiss and a toot. And that is all for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've enjoyed the sounds and the sights. And if you enjoyed this, please feel free to subscribe and like and comment. Let me know what your favourite sound was. Mine was probably, it's hard to decipher, but probably the mics facing out of the window. I do have a longer one where I have the mics facing out of the window, which I'm going to allow to just play now, and it will play you out. But thanks again for your time. Hope you've enjoyed this, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and bye bye for now.